Okay, so I was just talking to Brian Bott, and we were talking about 4 different personality types and how he approaches each one differently in his business. And we're going to start off by pointing out what these 4 different types are, and then we're going to say, how does this relate to your sales process, to your programming, to your coaching, but then also how does it relate to your staff? So Brian, do you want to start us off with just like what these 4 personality types are?
Sure. So if you can picture a square, so the 4 quadrants. On one side, you'll have the characteristic of whether someone is fact-based or emotional-based or relationship-based. We'll use those terms kind of interchangeably. And then whether they're introverted or extroverted. So that basically creates 4 categories. You'll have fact-based introverts, fact-based extroverts, relationship-based introverts, and relationship-based extroverts. That's a mouthful when you say them all in a row. But in general, each one of these types of people are going to have some fears, some tendencies, some behavioral things that can kind of give you a better idea of how to maybe like steer them in a sales conversation, or to your point, how we look at training them, and then also how to manage different staff members based on if you can have an idea of where these people are. It's not like you're locked into one of these boxes. It's like anything else. You're going to have ranges and scales, but you can generally maybe envision some people in certain areas, and it can make either the sales process, the training process, or the management process a little bit easier if you can kind of get an idea of that stuff.
I want to start off just by painting a really clear picture of who each of these 4 different personality types are, maybe with like an example, and then we can get into like what you can do to help them buy your products, to program for them, etc. Let's start with that fact-based extrovert.
So these are the people that have super strong personalities. I think we talked earlier about those sales situations where someone just kind of comes in and points right to the thing before you've even had a chance to explain anything. They're in control. They're the boss. They are probably, maybe not all the time, but they maybe be a manager themselves. They manage a lot of projects. They're in charge, and they enjoy feeling that way. From a sales standpoint, these are the people that you can the most damage you would do would probably be convincing them not to buy something by trying to over-explain something that they probably don't care about. They want to get right down to business. How much does your membership cost? How many times can I come per week? Who's my coach? And let's go.
Okay.
So there's the people that come in, and if you start getting into like, well, I just want to break down like the why we eat this much protein and the science, they're going to be like, all right, forget it. Like I got something to do. Like,
okay.
They want to come in. Sometimes all of these boxes kind of have pluses and minuses. They're very good at taking control and getting things done, but they might come across as arrogant or a little pushy when really they may or may not be, right? But if you can understand that that's just one kind of subgroup of people, then it makes it a little bit easier.
So that's the fact-based extrovert.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so now fact-based introvert.
Yep. So your fact-based introvert is going to be another term. Sometimes they group these as one word, or your analytical types.
Okay.
They are going to have done all the research. They want to know numbers, data, exact specifics of what they're going to do, so their negatives would be sometimes they come across being negative, right? There's one person on the team that every time a group project comes up or someone has a great idea, they're like, yeah, that won't work. And it's like, it's not necessarily that they're trying to be negative or but the way that they think is always in lists of pros and cons. Sometimes it helps to give like TV examples, like Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory would be that person. He's going to have a list, 9 miles long on each side about the pros and cons. Some of their negatives or things that they struggle with would be sometimes it's hard for them to make a decision. It's very, very hard for them to kind of try to comprehend, which one might be better. But you can help yourself by laying out the data, right? If someone like that is coming in and looking for fat loss, it's very easy to then you would want to explain to them why strength training and protein consumption and things like that are going, based on the research, is going to lead to this result. That will convince them more, saying then they're going to feel their muscle burn or they're going to have a certain energy in class. They don't tend to really be concerned with that stuff. They're just going to be analytical. So the more you can get down to that will help them as well.
And you also describe this person as like a perfectionist.
Yes. When we look at how we coach those clients, Chris, deadlift form, perfect. Looks great. Like 100% on. As opposed to, you can't just tell them great job. Because great job with what? What did I do? Like,
Okay.
it has to be, hey, great job getting your hips back on that deadlift and keeping your back flat.
Okay.
Like, it has to be, that's 100% what we want to see. So you're giving them that feedback into, it looks perfect.
Awesome. Okay, on to the next one.
Yep.
So now we have the relationship-based extrovert. Who's this person?
So these are your loud, probably most likely would be a large group participate person. They like the energy of class. They are there with their friends. They tend to be the people that are usually late to class because they have 100 different things going on. I had dropped my kids off at soccer, and then I had to be here.
Yeah.
And then I saw Susie at the coffee place, and I started talking to her. I'm so sorry. And that's just how they are. They're not doing that. Sometimes if you take things personal, you could think like this person doesn't care, like they're always late. And it's like, could be true, but it could just be that they're a people pleaser. They're not going to tell the person at the coffee shop, I got to go, Chris is waiting for me. Like, they're just going to be like, I didn't want to be rude to that person. And so their flaw, and you can look at this from a client standpoint or maybe a team management thing, is that they're going to overcommit themselves, right? 7 o'clock, they have a Zoom call with somebody, and then they book their training appointment for 8 o'clock, but it's a 15-minute drive to the gym. They know that. It's just that they're not going to say no to someone, or they take on a bunch of projects. They're I got it, no problem, let's do it. And then maybe you do a review, and it's like, hey, you did a great job with this, but we didn't get these other things done. And it was like, oh, I know, I'm sorry, I told so-and-so that I did that. So it's that type of person. They are the life of the party. It's more important to them that your music was rocking and that the workout felt a certain way than they care about how many reps. They're the person, like, you're like, Chris, we're going to do 10 reps. Everybody in class, 10 reps. It's 10 reps today. I said 10 reps. Go. How many? And it's like, because they were listening to the music or they were having a conversation. It's like, if you take it personal, it can get really tough really quick. But if you can realize, like, hey, there's just one of these people. They're just here to be in the vibe of this place, which is awesome. We want those people too. Yeah. They're going to forget how many reps. They're not really paying attention at that point because it's about, like, hey, like, well, the coach is like that person. So awesome. In a sales presentation, it's more of like they don't want to be left out. Hey, so you're gonna do exactly what Chris did, right? He signed up for three times a week. Okay, gotcha. Like, cool. You don't want to be. They don't want to be left out. Yeah. No, so they don't want to feel like they're not part of what everybody else is doing. Okay. So that's how you can usually spot that person. They have high energy and they're always go.
The social butterfly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now we have the fourth quadrant, the relationship introvert. So who's this person?
So that's the person who's going to be very, very quiet, laid back, very hard to get them excited about anything. They're there, and it'd be very. The flip side would be to think that they don't care because they're not showing energy. It's like, Chris, we got ball slams and box jumps and deadlifts. It's going to be great, right? And they're like, yeah, that should be good.
Yeah, should be good.
Yeah, and like they're more concerned about, like, they're like the caretaker of the group. Okay. Oh, I didn't want to use the bench. Chris looked like he was using it. Like, I didn't want to get in the way. Like, they want to make sure everything is everybody's taken care of. Everything's in the right place. I don't want to cause a disturbance. These are the people that the language that we would use in a sales conversation would be more like, hey, you're going to be just like all the rest of our members here. Like, you're going to fit right in. This is where most of our members started when they came in. So I think that's going to be the best bet for you. And my tone would reflect that as well.
Yeah, I can tell already.
I'm not going to be like, we're going to get you signed up and you're going to get shirts and hats and they'd be the person, like, would you ever see those cartoons where the kid leaves like Disney World and they got all this stuff and they're like not happy still? Like, they just have like the shirt, like the candy, and they're like, okay. Like, they're just not very excitable. It doesn't mean that they don't care. It's just like that's their personality. They don't like independent activities. This is not the person that if they're in a group class that you're going to say, oh, Chris, all right, you're leading the warm-up today. Like, if you do those type of things where you're getting one person, they probably don't want to do some sort of special workout in front of the rest of the room on their birthday. Yeah. They're like, no, please don't make me do like oh my God, it's my birthday. They just probably wouldn't even come to the gym that day. I know that they do birthday burpees, so I'll see you on Thursday. Like, I'm not coming. Like, and it doesn't mean that they don't. They obviously enjoy your service, and they're here for. All these people come for the same reason. They're looking for some sort of result. But they're the type of people even from an exercise standpoint. We're not going to pick like the cueing for a med ball slam is not going to be like, I want you to make as much noise with this thing as possible. Right. It's going to be like, hey, we're going to go over here and like I just want 10 good throws into the floor. Right. As opposed to like that the extrovert version of this would be like, Chris, I want you to throw that through the floor, and I want everybody to know that you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like I'm coaching the same exercise. I'm just giving different cues and different tone and feedback based on who the person is.
Okay, so you're sitting in front of a fact-based extrovert, and you're doing your sales meeting.
Mm-hmm.
First, how do you know that they're like the fact-based extrovert personality type?
So some clues. These are the people that were insistent probably about not going through your process when they come through. Why do I have to do the intro? I've done CrossFit, or I've done whatever for how many years. I shouldn't have to. They're the boss, right?
Yeah.
So like those are the type of things that you can kind of expect. They get right down to you're trying to ask them about their goals, and they would much rather like be in control of the conversation and ask you questions and get you going and tell you what they want to do.
Okay.
So, it's not always easy to identify exactly who these people are, but they're going to be very direct, very to the point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you handle them in a sales conversation then?
I try to get out of their way. They know exactly what they want.
Okay.
Phrases like, you know what works best for you,
Yep.
like is a good one to use with people that you feel might be in that group because, again, they're the boss.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to do privates? Perfect. You know what works best. Even if you think eventually down the road there might be better options for them, we haven't earned that trust with this person yet to try to challenge that.
That's a good one.
So sometimes it's just like, hey, even though most of my talk was about semi-private training, if someone walked in and said, I know what I want, I work best one-on-one with a coach, and I would like to do that 3 times a week. I'd be like, cool, here's the price for 3 times a week, private. I'll get to goals and all that stuff afterwards. I'm going to let him feel like I came in and got what I wanted because I'm the boss. All the other stuff is still important.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to not let them sign up because they didn't do something else before it or discuss semi-private or talk about maybe nutrition's best. It's like he said this is what he wanted. That's what we signed up for. As we develop that relationship, I can start to say like, hey, and the phrase would be, hey, Chris, like what do you think about this? Because I'm not going to tell you hey, what do you think about like if we went and started to like do some nutrition? Nah, I don't need any of that. All right, cool. Well, we'll keep doing it. And then other people are like, yeah, I was thinking of that. Yep, I was just about to ask you about nutrition. And you're like, I knew it. Like, so it's like that's how you start to like role play with those people. And it's like it's just being a good, in my opinion, it's just like that makes you a better coach, right? You're trying, like it's your responsibility to get these people to do the best. But if you don't have those skills, sometimes you're like, you can convince this person out of something because you're not letting them just choose what they want in the beginning.
And that's how I think I've screwed this up is I don't know if I thought that I was winning by like proving that I was smarter than them or something, but I would like argue with them. They're coming in, they're tapping their credit card while they listen to my sales pitch, and then they buy the thing that they want anyway, or they just leave. Right?
Absolutely.
So
That's 100% this person. Yeah. And it's like I've done it before too. It's like if you're an analytical person, you get labeled sometimes as being like very, very wordy, and it's like it's not that they like to talk, it's more that like they want to make sure you understand.
Yeah.
Because I know how important this is, so I'm going to repeat it 17 times to make sure that you get this because it's important to me to know, for you to know how important it is.
Okay. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, I can like literally picture 2 clients in my head that I've blown this one on.
Yeah, it happens.
Okay, so we're going to talk about sales process now for the next quadrant. Okay, so this person is a fact-based introvert. They're sitting down with you to do an NSI. They've done their research. They probably know more about your product than you do. I've had this, right? People come in, they're like, well, you said on October 30th, 1997 that your rate was this.
Yep.
Like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, so these are very, very analytical types, and each one of these kind of comes with a fear, and theirs is more about being taken advantage of. This is the person that, like, when you told them, depending on what your policies are, like that you could cancel within the first 30 days, and they're like, well, can you make sure that's in writing? And you're like, yeah, sure, no problem. Because I want it in writing. I'm like, no, I said yes. And they're like, but you're sure that I can do it? I'm like, mm-hmm. Yeah, and like they ask 17 times, and I'm like, no, I told you that it says it right there. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, but can you just initial that? And I'm like, well, yeah, sure, like, okay, no problem. So, but yes, they are. So how do we identify who this person is? Maybe the way that they came across us when we ask, hey, how did you hear about us? It's like, oh, I've actually read 17, like to your point, I've read 17 of your blogs before. I tried to buy that heart rate monitor thing that you talked about and couldn't really figure it out. So like, they're going to have all that. They're going to know what the gym down the street charges, and they're going to know like all these different things. Like, oh, well, so-and-so down the street charges this. So that type of person. the more information that you can, it's kind of a catch-22 with these people. They love information, but sometimes their biggest stumbling block is they have a hard time making decisions.
Yeah.
So these are the people that you can kind of self-guide, but you don't want to overwhelm. And say, if you can narrow it down to like, here's what based on the research, here's what my recommendation is.
Okay.
Because they're the type of people that you can go back with and say, hey, so I'm sure you already know, like those are things that you can lead with because they've probably done some research. They're looking to see, does this place confirm what I've researched, right? Mm-hmm. If this person has done the research on the benefits of progressive resistance training and you're trying to sell them yoga, right. It's going to be a hard sell. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with yoga. Mm-hmm. It could be great, yeah. Right? But for what their problem is, they've done this research and they've found out that I know that progressive resistance training works. It doesn't mean I know how to do it.
Right.
So unless I repeat back to them that, like, I'm sure you already know, like, we need to do some progressive overload. They'll be like, oh, okay, like this guy does know what he's talking about. It's almost like a test for you at that point.
Yeah.
And they just don't want to be taken advantage of. So okay. It's, whatever works best for you.
So over lunch you said something like, these are the people who, when they say, okay, I just want to think about it, they actually do want to go think about it. Right?
Yes.
But how do you overcome that and keep them from just sitting in their paralysis?
I just respond, okay, which piece specifically do you need more information on?
Okay.
Because there are some people that use that as like a let me just get the heck out of here tactic. Yeah. But if it's truly one of these people, they'll say like something very specific. And then the good thing is that you can either A, respond right away, or B, let's be honest, like we don't close 100% of the people that come and sit in front of us. But with this person, hey, if they talked about their back pain in your NSI, then I would send them an article or two on low back pain and why we do these exercises based on that. Hey, I know you're a little bit unsure, but in the meantime, like here's an article or two that I think might help based on whatever their issue was.
Beautiful.
And then you just leave it, right? And it's like I'm not going to continue to try and hard sell them at that point and tell them they have to, because again, they don't want to feel taken advantage of.
Right.
They don't. So I don't want to press them on. I'm just going to kind of try to give them more information to the specific thing that they were asking about. Yeah. And then go from there.
Okay, the relationship extrovert, the party animal. Mm-hmm. How do you sell them?
So start with how do we identify?
Yeah.
These are the people who are like, what do you mean we're not working out today? I thought we were working out today. Come on, we're working out, right? Like they're like antsy. They're like ready to go. They don't want anything to do with the process, but in a happy way, not because they want to be in control. It's like, yeah, but John's out there right now. Come on, let's go. Can I just go work out with my friend? Like I don't get it. Like. So those are the people that, when from a sales perspective, they don't want to be left out. Right? They are. If Chris got reservations at the new restaurant down the street, why don't I have reservations at the new restaurant down the street? They don't even know what the food is. Like it could be terrible, but if that's the new place, like they want to be there. So that's the language that we use in the sales. They're usually referred to us from another member. Hey, Chris told me this place is awesome. Like loves the classes. Like. Cool, so you want to do, Chris does 3 times a week semi-private with classes. Would you want to get started with that? And it can be that easy. I think you have the same tendency with this person to convince them out of it than something else. If all their friends are doing X, even though you know Y might be a better option for them, it's probably not the best idea to push them to that because now it's like, well, I'm not with my friends anymore. Yeah. Like I'm here, but I'm not. Why can't I be with them? So there's a process and there's a system that has to be followed, but then there's these gray areas where you're like, hey, let's get them in with their friend. Like that's where they're going to be most comfortable. If they're where they're most comfortable, that's when I can kind of make the biggest change or impact, right? So from a sales perspective, that's kind of, hey, you just want to do what your friend did, right?
Yep.
And whoever that friend is, sometimes that's the easiest thing. Yep, Greg told me to come here, so I want to do exactly what he's doing.
Do you find a lot of these people are like early adopters with a service too? I can remember, when we opened up a CrossFit gym, the first couple of months were just people like this that you're describing, who they walked in, they're like, I just want to try it. I'm starving. This is a restaurant. Let me try CrossFit. Yep. And in 2010, those were most of the people we met, but we burned through those really quick.
Sure. Yeah, and I would say if I never thought of it that way, but that was interesting. I would have to say. Now I kind of want to break out our renewals and percentages by this and see. Yeah. Because I would guess that these would be probably the category of people that would have the highest churn, Because if you're gonna,
Yeah.
if something down the street opens with rainbows and no offense, Mark.
Rainbow
I didn't mean
theory.
that. Yeah, but yeah, I didn't mean that. But so anyway, they would want to try it, not because they even think it's better. It's just because it's the new thing. I want to be part of it. My friends are there, so. From a sales perspective, that's what we go after. We just say like, hey, listen, this is what your friends are doing. Let's get you signed up for that, and then go from there.
Everything Madonna does, these people are going to go try that
Correct.
too. Yeah,
Yep.
got it. Okay,
Yep.
good. Okay, we're selling to the relationship introvert. How do we identify them first?
So they're going to be the type of person that sometimes they don't make great eye contact. They're kind of like very little nervous or anxious. Like they come in like they just have their arms crossed, that their hands are in their pocket, and they're like, you're like, hey, how you doing? And they're like, good. And they're like, they want to see like what's going on over there.
Yeah.
Like they want to make sure like, will I feel comfortable here, or like, am I safe?
Okay.
I don't want to be in the way. Like so. Those type of things are kind of good cues, but in terms of selling to them, it's trying to make them feel that they're going to be right at home here. They're going to be taken care of. You're going to be just like everybody else. So because they don't want to be seen as like, so their biggest fear would be like, oh my God, I'm in class and everybody can do X and I can't. Right. So it's like, okay, so these should be the easiest people to kind of funnel into some sort of private or more structured semi-private training. Because you can say like, hey, all of our members got started here and got a little extra help in the beginning. You're going to meet people. You're going to fit right in. This is where most of our members start. And then we can kind of decide in that 30, 60, 90-day window if we change over to something else from there. So from a sales point of view, we focus on how they're going to fit in, how they're going to be just like everything else, how they're going to be taken care of. Because that's their biggest kind of driver.
Like we won't look stupid in front of other people.
Yeah. So that's a much better way of putting it. I don't want to look stupid,
Yeah.
right? Like don't make me try something for the first time in front of everybody, right? Like so. When we get into the programming aspects, there's things that goes into that as well. But from a sales point of view, maybe not the best person to do a full functional movement screen with if you can tell maybe they've never worked out before.
Okay.
Because if I'm coming to the gym, I'm already intimidated. I'm already a little bit nervous. And now I'm going to stand you on this board and put your hands behind your back and make you do something that we could probably, if I had to guess, you're not going to be able to do very well.
Yeah.
Now I've confirmed it. See, I shouldn't be here.
That's
right. Those are the more people that you want to get them. It'd be better to get them some small wins there in their NSI than anything else. Okay. You don't want to point out for that person all the things that are wrong with them. Right, you want to be like, see, you can squat. You just hang on to the TRX. Yeah. Oh, see, you can do a push-up, but we just set it up on the bar. You can do it.
Oh,
like
nice.
the see you can do it is something that would work well with them in that kind of. They have to leave feeling like, oh, I can do this. I'm not an outsider.
Yeah, we've blown that too, man. Like when we did free trials, especially this type of person would come in, they would get crushed. Their enthusiasm would be completely gone. They'd be like, well, I can't do CrossFit,
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, I think, and in regardless of whether it was CrossFit or any other type of training, like it's our tendency to want to try to, you mentioned before, let me show this person how much I know.
Yeah.
And it's like, like they don't care.
They don't
like
care.
They're like, yeah, but that hurt, like, or maybe not that severe, but like, wow, that was really uncomfortable. Like they don't want to be like, oh yeah, we got to get this push up much better, and you see your back here, like that posture's never gonna make it in this gym. Like
now I'm fat and stupid.
yeah, like oh well, thanks, buddy. Like so it's more about like you're trying to raise them up a little bit and show them like, see, you can do it.
Okay.